Welcome to Master Speak English. Subscribe now and take the first step toward mastering English.
Today's story, the day my life changed forever. I used to live in a world without effort. If I wanted something, I simply asked for it, and my father bought it. A watch, a phone, a pair of shoes. Nothing was ever too expensive. Whatever I wanted, he gave it to me. My friends often told me, "You should think about your future." But I laughed. Why worry? My father had money, and that was enough. I thought life would always be like that. Every morning I woke up late. Breakfast waited for me in bed. I spent hours in front of the TV. Sometimes I went out with my friends. We dined in the best restaurants. We wore luxury clothes. We drove fast cars. Life was sweet. Life was beautiful. I never thought about tomorrow. But one day, everything changed. My father called me. His face was serious. He asked me to sit down. "Son, we need to talk," he said. I smiled. "Of course, Dad." But he didn't smile back. Something was different. I could feel it. He wasn't angry, but he wasn't happy either. "You're not a child anymore," he said. "You need to think about your future." I laughed. "But Dad, I have everything I need." He shook his head. "No, you have everything I gave you. But one day that might change. And what will you do then?" I didn't understand. I thought he was worrying for nothing. So I smiled and said, "Don't worry. Nothing will change." He looked at me for a long moment and said only, "We'll see." I left and joined my friends. We laughed, spent money, lived like the world belonged to us. I didn't know my life was about to turn upside down. A few weeks later, I woke up as usual. The sun was shining through the curtains. The smell of coffee floated in the air. But that morning, something felt strange. The house was silent. Too silent. I went down to the living room. No one was there. No staff, no sound. Not even my father's voice. Only a letter waited for me on the table. I opened it. The first lines chilled my blood. "My son, I've made a difficult decision. I've left. I'm not dead, don't worry. But I want you to live on your own, without my help, without my money. You need to learn what real life is. You need to find out who you really are." I sat down. I read the letter again and again. I couldn't believe it. My father was gone without warning. He left me with nothing. I checked my bank account. Empty. My credit cards blocked. The staff gone. I was alone in a house that was too big, with no money and no friends. Yes, my friends had disappeared too. Without parties, cars, and restaurants, they vanished. Reality hit me hard. The next day, I packed a big suitcase. I took some clothes, a notebook, a pen, and I left. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't stay. I left the house, left the memories, and I set out to find something, maybe myself. I wandered into a neighborhood I didn't know. Everything was different there. The streets were narrow. People moved quickly. Their faces looked tired. I saw a small cafe. I walked in. The owner looked at me suspiciously. I probably looked lost. I asked him for a glass of water. "Are you going to pay?" he asked. I didn't even have a coin. So I said, "No, but I can work if you'd like." He looked at me for a while, then shrugged. You can wash the glasses. If you work well, I'll give you something to eat. It was the first time I had ever worked. My hands weren't made for that. My back ached. My arms hurt. I was sweating. But at the end of the day, he gave me a plate of pasta. I had never eaten such a simple dish, but it tasted wonderful. It tasted like something earned. That night, I had nowhere to sleep, so I sat on a bench. The wind was cold, but inside, I felt warm. I was tired, but happy. For the first time, I felt alive. The next morning, I woke up early. My muscles were sore, my eyelids heavy, but something in me had changed. A small, clear voice said, "Keep going." I went back to the cafe. The owner looked surprised. "You came back?" I nodded. "I want to continue. I want to work. I need to learn." He smiled slightly and handed me a rag. "Go clean the tables." Day by day I learned to serve customers, to smile even when I was tired, to listen to the stories of ordinary people. An old woman came every morning. She always ordered the same black coffee. She told me stories of her youth, her missing husband, her forgotten dreams. She often said to me, "You have beautiful eyes, but you don't really see life yet. Don't worry, it will come to you gently." I didn't understand all of her words, but they stayed in my heart. I earned little, just enough to eat and rent a small room above the cafe. The room was tiny. The bed creaked. The walls were cold, but I had a roof over my head. Each night, I looked at the ceiling and thought, today I took one more step. One day, the cafe owner said, "You work well. You're serious. I'll show you something new." He brought me to the kitchen. He taught me to make coffee, cut vegetables, prepare simple but good meals. He explained that every action, every ingredient matters. The secret, he said, is not money. It's the love you put into what you do. And I understood, slowly, that life isn't measured by brands or things, but by moments of strength, honest looks, and kindness. One evening, while I was sweeping the terrace, I saw a familiar figure. My heart stopped for a moment. It was him, my father, standing a few steps away. He was watching me in silence. I walked toward him slowly. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice trembling. He replied calmly, "I wanted to see you, to see what you've become." I didn't know if he had come to take me back or to judge me, but he just smiled. "You're a man now," he said. "I'm proud of you." Those words, I had waited so long to hear them. And yet, that's not what made me cry. What moved me was realizing I no longer needed him. I turned back toward the cafe, toward my new home, my new life. The next day, my father returned. He sat at a table on the terrace, like any customer. He ordered a coffee and watched me work quietly. He didn't speak, but his eyes said everything: surprise, admiration, maybe even a little shame. During my break, I sat at his table. He handed me an envelope. "It's a bank card," he said. "The money is available again if you want it." I held the envelope. I looked at it. A few months ago, I would have opened it instantly, cheered, celebrated. But now, I held it with respect. And I said, "Thank you, but I think I don't need it anymore." He looked at me with teary eyes, then put the envelope away without insisting. "You've changed, son," he said. I smiled. "No, I've grown." That evening, I walked alone through the city streets. The streetlights cast a soft glow on the sidewalk. I thought about everything I had been through, the emptiness, the fear, the exhaustion, the small victories, the dignity regained. I was no longer the boy who only knew how to spend. I had become a man who knew the value of a smile, of a well-done job, of a shared meal, a man who could fall and rise again. A few months later, the cafe owner called me into his office. He held a folder in his hands. "You work well. You've learned fast," he said. "And you know what? I'm retiring." I looked at him, shocked. "And the cafe?" I asked. He smiled. "It's yours if you want it." My heart skipped a beat, and I understood this place, which had taken me in when I was nothing, would now become my future. I accepted. I repainted the walls, changed the curtains, planted flowers on the terrace. But I kept the old coffee machine and the same spirit. Serve people with your heart. The customers returned. New ones came. And every morning I woke up with pride. One day, the old woman came back. She looked at me for a long time and said, "You see? I told you. Now you really see life." I smiled. "Yes, and I love it." Today, when I see a young boy dressed well, arrogant, carefree, I smile gently. I don't judge him. I understand, because I too once thought everything was easy. But now I know true wealth isn't in a bank account. It's in the effort, in the mistakes, in starting over. It's in the heart, and sometimes losing everything you thought you had is the best thing that can ever happen to you.